Hi everyone, my name is Sakshi and in this video we'll be discussing top 100 MCQs of HTML. Okay, so let's start from the question number first. So question number first we have which HTML tag is used to define a web page title. So basically for defining a title we have a title tag. Okay, so title tag we have. Question number 2 we have which HTML tag contains metadata. So metadata contain, which tag actually contain metadata? See, there might be two kind of questions are there. Like the first one can be that which HTML tag is used to define metadata. Okay, so you have to then click meta tag. Okay, since here the second question is applied. Okay, that is which HTML tag contains metadata. So you have to go with the head tag, okay? That is the B option, okay? And then we have question number 3, which HTML tag contains visible web page content. So we have a body tag, okay? And then we have question number 4, which HTML tag defines document root. So basically we have our HTML tag, okay? For doing this. Next question we have which declares and defines HTML5 document. HTML5 we have which HTML version introduce semantic tags. So basically we have HTML5 tag, okay, which HTML tag defines the navigation section. So for doing this we have a nav tag, okay. This HTML tag defines independent article content. Independent article content, for doing this we have a okay, that article tag. 9 question number we have which HTML tag defines side content. Side content, for defining side content we have a side tag called, okay. Question number 10 we have which HTML tag defines footer section. So for doing this we have a footer tag, okay. So option B is right here. Which HTML tag defines header section? So for defining header section we have a tag named as a header, okay. So question number 12 we have which HTML tag defines main content. So basically to defining main content we have a tag called main, okay. Which HTML tag defines grouped thematic content. So basically for doing this we have a section tag, okay. Which HTML tag defines generic block label container. So basically for doing this we have a div tag called, okay. Question number 15 we have which HTML tag defines generic inline container. So basically to defining generic inline container we have a span tag, okay, which HTML tag defines figure content. So for defining figure content we have a tag called as a figure, okay, which HTML tag defines caption for figure. So for doing this we have a tag named as a fake caption, okay. Question number 18 we have which HTML tag defines scalable vector graphics. So basically we have a tag called SVG, okay, which HTML tag is used for bitmap graphics with JavaScript. For doing this we have a tag named as a canvas tag, okay. Question number 20 we have which HTML tag embeds another web page. For doing this we have a iframe tag, okay. 21 question we have which HTML tag embeds external object. So for doing this we have embed or object. What tag you can embed? External object. Use you can to embed external object. Mostly that we use as embed, but you can go through with the object as well. See, they might be similar, but their working scenario is a little bit different from this, okay. So basically 22 question we have, let's see what this question says, okay. So basically which HTML tag defines audio content. So we have a tag named as audio, okay. And the same that happens with a video tag also, that actually used to define video content, okay. So we have a tag named as a video, and then 24% we have which attribute automatically start media playback. For doing this we have autoplay tag, okay, which attribute repeats media continuously. Basically, we have a loop called, okay, which attributes use media player control. We have a controls tag, okay, which HTML tag defines media source. We have a source tag. Which HTML tag defines subtitle for media. Track tag. So, which HTML tag defines image map tag, okay. Which HTML tag defines clickable area inside the image map. We have an area tag, okay. Which attribute defines tooltip text. Title tag, which attribute defines inline CSS, which attribute defines CSS, inline CSS. So we have a tag named as a style tag, which attribute defines CSS class. So for doing this, we have a class tag, which attribute defines unique element. So basically for doing this, we have a ID tag, okay. Which HTML tag links external CSS file. So for doing this, we have a link tag. So we have a tag called link. This HTML tag defines internal CSS. So for doing this, we have a tag named as a style tag, okay. Which HTML tag adds JavaScript. So for adding JavaScript, we have a tag named as a script tag, okay. Which HTML attribute disables elements. So for disabling elements, we have a tag named as a disabled, okay. Which HTML attribute make field mandatory. So basically for doing this, what we have is a required tag, okay. Which HTML attribute make input read only. So basically doing this, we have a read only tag, okay. Which HTML attribute provide placeholder text, placeholder tag, okay. Which HTML attribute automatically focuses elements. So for doing this, we have auto focus tag, okay. Which HTML attribute selects checkbox by default. So for doing this, we have a checked attribute, okay. Which HTML attribute selects drop down option by default. So for doing this, we have a selected tag, okay. Which HTML attribute allows multiple file selection. So for doing this, we have a tag called as a multiple, okay. Which HTML attribute disables autocomplete. So for doing this, we have a tag called as a disable off, okay. Which HTML attribute defines minimum value. So basically for defining minimum value, we have a tag called min, and for the maximum value, we have a tag called max, okay. Which HTML attribute defines increment step. So for doing this, we have a step attribute. HTML attribute enables tagging. We have a tag called a draggable, okay. 51% we have which HTML tag defines a data list for input suggestions. So for doing this, we have a data list called, okay. Question number 52, we have which attribute connects input with the data list. So for doing this, we have a list tag called, okay. And which HTML tag defines calculation results. So for doing this, we have a tag called as a output tag, okay. Which HTML tag defines expandable details. So for doing this, we have a tag named as a details, okay. Which HTML tag defines a heading for details element. Details element, we have a tag called as a summary tag, okay. Which HTML tag defines highlighted task progress. So for doing this, we have a tag called as a progress tag, okay. Which HTML tag defines scalar measurement. So for doing this, we have a tag called as a meter tag, okay. Which HTML tag defines Ruby annotation. So for doing this, we have a called Ruby tag, okay. 59 question we have which HTML tag defines pronunciation in Ruby annotation. So for doing this, we have called RT tag, okay. Which HTML tag defines feedback text for Ruby annotation. Okay, so for doing this, we have RP tag, okay. So HTML tag defines machine readable date and time. So for doing this, we have a call time, okay. tag, okay, which HTML tag defines bidirectional text isolation. So for doing this, we have a VDI, we have a tag called VDI, which HTML tag overrides text direction. So video, okay, which attribute defines text direction. So basically we have a direct dir tag, okay, which HTML tag defines contact information. So for doing this, we have a address, we have a call address, we have a address tag, okay, we have to use which HTML tag defines emphasize text. So basically for doing this, we have a tag called em, okay. Which HTML tag defines strongly important text. So for doing this, we have a tag called strong tag, okay. Which HTML tag defines marked text. So for doing this, we have a tag called mark tag, okay. So 69 we have which HTML tag defines inserted content. So for doing this, ins tag we have, okay. 20 question we have which HTML tag defines deleted content. So basically we have a del tag, okay. Which HTML tag defines citizen site title. So for doing this, we have site tag. Which HTML tag defines variable name. So for doing this, we have a var tag called as, okay, which HTML tag defines keyboard input. So keyboard input, we have a KBD tag, okay. Which HTML tag defines sample program output. So for doing this, we have actually sam tag, okay. Which HTML tag preserves white space formatting. We have a PRE tag. Which HTML tag defines thematic break. We have HR tag, okay, which HTML tag defines inline frames. So basically for doing this, I have iframe tag, okay, which HTML tag defines client side script, okay, script tag, which HTML tag defines no script feedback content. So for doing this, we have a no script tag, okay. Question number 80, we have which HTML tag defines metadata container. So defining metadata container, we have a head tag, which HTML tag defines page title. So basically we have a title tag, okay. Which HTML tag defines metadata content. So for doing this, we have a tag called a meta tag, okay. Which attribute defines character encoding. So for doing this, we have a tag called a char set, okay. Which HTML tag links external resources. So basically to link external resources, we have a tag called link tag, okay. Which attribute specifies linked resources relationship. So we have a rel tag, which attribute specifies link file URL. So basically for doing this, we have a attribute called href. Href stands for hyperreference, okay. Which HTML tag defines base URL for links. So basically for doing this, we have a tag called a base, okay. And then we have 688 question about that which attribute in base tag specifies URL. Which HTML tag defines image source alternatives. So basically for doing this, we have a picture tag, okay, which attribute specifies responsive image sizes. So basically we can either use sizes or source set, okay. Which HTML attribute specifies image width. So image width to specifying image width, we have a attribute called width, okay, which HTML attribute specifies image height. So for doing this, we have a tag called height, okay, which HTML tag defines tabular row group header. So for doing this, we have a th tag, okay, which HTML tag defines main table body. So for doing this, we have a tag called tbody, okay. Which HTML tag defines table footer section. So for doing this, we have a 95. We have a t footer tag, okay. Which HTML tag defines table caption. So for defining table caption, we have a tag called as a caption tag, okay. Which HTML attribute specifies table cell row span. So basically for doing this, we have a row span called, okay. Which HTML attribute specifies a table cell column span. row span, call span, which HTML tag defines from label. So basically we have a label tag, okay, which HTML tag defines a grouped from control. So for doing this, we have a field set, okay. So we have done with the 100 questions and the session. So thank you so much everyone for watching this video, and we will be continuing this tutorial, okay. This playlist will be continuing, and we have target to achieve 1100 questions so that I can complete everything about HTML, okay, and Mcqs. So thank you so much for watching this video, and do let me know how many questions did you correct out of the 100, okay. So all the best for your examination. Thank you.